The vast imperial palace of Nexus Prime gleamed in the morning light as High Empress Zara observed the twinkling lights of her domain from her wheelchair. She had ruled for 3 centuries, yet today felt emptier than most. The Empress' birthday celebration would begin in mere hours, yet she felt nothing but loneliness. Zara adjusted the ceremonial robes over her atrophied legs. She had been born with a rare genetic condition that her advanced civilization could not cure. A bitter irony for the ruler of the most technologically advanced empire in the known galaxy. The Empress sighed as she turned her chair away from the window and faced the enormous empty chamber that served as her personal quarters. General Krex entered with a bow, his insectoid form clicking against the polished floor. "Your Radiance. The preparations for your celebration are complete. 27 worlds await your appearance." The chittering sounds from his mandibles echoed in the cavernous room. Zara nodded, without enthusiasm. Another year, another display of power without meaning. She had long ago lost count of her birthdays, each one blurring into the next an endless cycle of formal ceremonies and political gestures. What use was ruling half the galaxy, if one sat alone at the end of each day? Far below the palace in the human district mechanic, Lori Tate wiped grease from her hands. She had spent the morning fixing the atmospheric regulator in her small repair shop. The humans were still newcomers to the galactic community, but had quickly earned respect for their ingenuity and adaptability. Humans had arrived on Nexus Prime just 5 years ago, their planet Earth having been discovered by Imperial scouts. The Empress had granted them a district to establish themselves, impressed by their resourcefulness despite their primitive technology. Humans adapted quickly, learning alien languages and finding niches in the complex society. Lori looked at her daughter Paige, who was playing with spare parts on the floor. The girl had fashioned them into a crude representation of the Imperial Palace, with a small figure sitting at the top. Paige had always been fascinated by the mysterious Empress who rarely appeared in public. "Mommy, I want to give the Empress a present," said Paige innocently, her small face serious beneath her mop of blonde curls. Lori smiled patiently. "Honey, the Empress doesn't meet regular people like us, especially not humans. She lives up there and we live down here. Besides, what would you give an Empress who owns 27 worlds but it's her birthday?" "Everyone deserves something nice on their birthday," Paige insisted, her blue eyes wide with childish determination. "Even if she's an alien and has lots of stuff, she might be lonely up there all by herself." Lori paused, struck by her daughter's perception. The thought had never occurred to her that the all-powerful Empress might be lonely. The news feeds only showed Zara during formal events surrounded by advisors and guards, but never with family or friends. Did the Empress have anyone close to her, Lori wondered. Still, she tried to be practical. "Paige, sweetie, the palace has more security than the entire human district. We can't just walk up and give her a..." Present Paige crossed her arms stubbornly. "We can try in the palace throne room." Empress Zara received the morning petitioners, her anti-gravity wheelchair hovering slightly above the floor, giving the illusion that she floated above her subjects, an effect carefully crafted by her ancestors to inspire awe. She listened as diplomats presented issues from their worlds, her mind drifting despite centuries of practiced attention. A representative from Krell, the mining world, droned on about production quotas. His species resembled tall, willowy trees with eyes embedded in their bark. "Your Radiance, we request additional labor forces for the Eastern Quadrant. The new vein of physite requires delicate extraction beyond our current capacity." Zara nodded. "We will dispatch 300 Marulan workers from the central labor pool. See that they are properly compensated this time." Unlike the last contingent, her voice carried a sharp edge that made the representative bow deeply. "Yes, Your Radiance, 1,000. Apologies for that unfortunate oversight." The Empress dismissed him with a wave, wondering if any of her subjects saw her as more than a source of resources and power. During 300 years of rule, she had never formed a true friendship. Every interaction was colored by her position. Everyone wanted something from the Empress, never from Zara herself. Meanwhile, Lori had closed her shop early. Despite her better judgment, she had agreed to help Paige create a gift. She watched as her daughter carefully assembled small parts from the shop into something intricate "What exactly are you making, sweetie?" Lori asked, examining the delicate mechanism taking shape in her daughter's small hands. "It's a star map," Paige explained, pointing to the tiny lights she had incorporated. "But it shows Earth too, so the Empress can see where we came from. I think she might like to know." Lori helped connect the final circuits, impressed by her daughter's creativity. The completed gift was a small sphere that, when activated, projected a miniature holographic map of nearby star systems with Earth highlighted by a gentle blue glow. It wasn't particularly advanced technology by Imperial standards, but it was handmade with care. Lori knew they would never get close enough to actually deliver it, but she couldn't bear to disappoint Paige. They would go to the public viewing area for the Imperial procession, and Paige could at least see the Empress. The gift would become a keepsake, a reminder of a child's innocent belief that even the most powerful being in the galaxy deserved a personal birthday wish. The streets of the capital city were already filling with citizens of various species, all eager to glimpse their ruler. The Imperial procession was one of the few times ordinary people could see Empress Zara as her platform, would float along the Avenue of Ancestors, the main thoroughfare that connected the palace to the ancient temple complex. Lori held Paige's hand tightly as they navigated. Through the crowds, the human district was furthest from the palace, and they had to pass through sections inhabited by species far different from themselves. Towering Nex warriors with their 4 arms and metallic skin mingled with tiny floating frill who communicated through color patterns on their translucent bodies. Hundreds of other species filled the streets, some so alien that Lori could barely comprehend their forms. Paige clutched her carefully wrapped gift eyes wide with excitement and determination. Their progress was slow but steady as they made their way toward the central plaza in her royal chambers. Empress Zara was being prepared for the procession. Attendants draped her in the ceremonial robes of state heavy with jewels and embedded technology that monitored her vital signs and provided a protective field. Their touch was efficient but impersonal as they had been trained. Her royal garments included a headdress that concealed much of her face with delicate chains of precious metals, another tradition meant to enhance her mystique and separation from ordinary citizens. General Kreck supervised the preparations. The security scans show 3 million citizens already gathered along the route. Your Radiance, all. Security protocols are active. Representatives from all tributary worlds await your arrival at the temple. Zara nodded, feeling the weight of the headdress. Is there anything unusual this year? Any reason this celebration should differ from the last 100? The general hesitated. Only that the human population has increased. Their district shows considerable activity today. This is the first Imperial celebration since their numbers reached 50,000 humans. Zara mused. They were so different from other species she had encountered in her long life. Adaptable, unpredictable, and strangely emotional. Their technology was primitive, but they learned quickly and showed remarkable creativity. She had been intrigued enough by their potential to grant them residence on Nexus Prime, a decision some of her advisors still questioned. Are they causing problems, she asked. No, Your Radiance. Their behavior remains within acceptable parameters. They simply seem more excited about the celebration than most species. They are still new to our customs. Zara felt a flicker of interest, the first genuine emotion of the day. Ensure the procession passes through the outer edge of their district. I would like to observe them more closely. As the time for the procession approached, Lori and Paige finally reached the Avenue of Ancestors. They found a spot near the boundary between the human district and the central city. Paige stood on a low wall to see over the crowd, clutching her gift and watching for the first signs of the Imperial entourage. The atmosphere changed as distant music announced the beginning of the procession. The crowd noise subsided, replaced by a ritualistic chant that rippled through the alien throats around them. Lori could feel the vibrations through the ground as larger species stomped in rhythm. The first to appear were the Imperial Guards, their armor gleaming with embedded light technology. They moved with perfect precision, forming a living corridor, through which the Empress would soon pass. Behind them came representatives from each of the 27 worlds carrying their planetary symbols. Their varied forms showcased the diversity of life under Imperial rule. And then she appeared. The Empress. Platform glided forward, hovering above the avenue. Empress Zara sat regally in her anti-gravity chair, The technology seamlessly blended with her ornate throne. Her face was partially obscured by the ceremonial headdress, but her eyes were visible, alert and ancient, scanning the crowds. Lori gasped, despite herself. The Empress' presence was overwhelming. Even from a distance, there was something both powerful and somehow sad about the solitary. The silence that followed Paige's words seemed to stretch across the entire avenue. No one had ever addressed the Empress in such a manner during a formal procession. The protocol officers stood frozen, uncertain how to respond to this unprecedented breach. The guards remained tense, hands hovering over weapons as they awaited orders. Empress Zara leaned forward slightly in her anti-gravity chair, studying the small human child with genuine curiosity. For centuries, she had received formal birthday acknowledgments from diplomats and officials, but never a simple, heartfelt greeting like this. There was something refreshing about the child's directness. "Come closer, little one," the Empress said, her voice amplified yet somehow gentler than any had heard before Paige approached the hovering platform unafraid. She held up her wrapped gift. "I made this for you. Everyone should get presents on their birthday." The crowd watched in collective shock as Empress Zara, the ruler of 27 worlds and the most powerful being in the known galaxy, gestured, and her platform slowly descended to ground level. This had never happened during a procession. The Empress always remained elevated above her subjects, a living symbol of her elevated status. General Krex chittered nervously. "Your Radiance, the schedule." The ceremony. Zara silenced him with a look, 3 centuries of absolute authority evident in her expression. The general stepped back, mandibles clicking nervously. The platform touched the ground, and Paige stepped forward, extending her gift toward the Empress. The security scanners had already analyzed the package, confirming it contained no threats, but the guards remained tense. No one had handed anything directly to the Empress in generations. "What is your name, child?" Zara asked him. "Paige M from Earth, but I live here now with my mom. She fixes things," Paige replied. Her voice clear in the hushed avenue. Zara reached out and accepted the small package. Her hands emerged from the ceremonial robes, slender, with 6 fingers each tipped with a pearlescent nail. She carefully unwrapped the gift, revealing the star map sphere that Paige had created. "What is this?" Zara asked, examining the object. "It's a star map." Paige explained. "I put Earth on it. So, you can see where humans come from. My mom helped me make it." "You pressed the top to turn it on without hesitation?" Something that made her advisors exchange alarmed glances. Zara pressed the activation switch. The sphere hummed to life, projecting a delicate holographic display of star systems with Earth highlighted by a soft blue glow. It was simple technology by imperial standards, but the Empress studied it with genuine interest. "You made this yourself?" Zara asked. Paige nodded proudly. "Mom showed me how to connect the circuits, but I did the stars." See, Paige pointed to Earth. "That's where we came from." And here she pointed to Nexus Prime. "That's where we are now." Meanwhile, Lori had finally pushed through the crowd. She stood at the edge of the security cordon, heart pounding, as she watched her daughter casually conversing with the most powerful ruler in the galaxy. A guard blocked her path when she tried to move forward. "Let her through," Zara commanded, noticing Lori's distress. "Is that your mother?" Paige nodded and waved. "That's my mom. She fixed the air machines in our district. She can fix anything." The guards reluctantly allowed Lori to approach. She moved quickly to Paige's side. "Your Radiance." "I apologize for the intrusion." She bowed, deeply hoping they wouldn't both be arrested for violating countless imperial protocols. Zara studied the mechanic, noting the grease stains on her hands, and the practical clothing so different from the formal attire of those who usually approached. There was no artifice here, no political agenda hidden behind flowery words, just a mother concerned for her child. "No apology is necessary," Zara said. "Your daughter has given me something rare. Indeed, I cannot recall the last time I received a gift chosen for me rather than for my position." She looked at the star map again. This was thoughtfully made. "Thank you. Your Radiance," Lori replied, still nervous but slightly reassured. "I hope we haven't disrupted your procession too severely." Zara looked at the waiting dignitaries, the precise rows of guards, the citizens lining the avenue. all following the same ceremony that had remained unchanged for centuries. The predictability of it all suddenly felt suffocating. Perhaps disruption is exactly what was needed, the Empress said, making a decision that would send shockwaves through Imperial society. General Krex, the insectoid general, stepped forward, mandibles twitching anxiously. Yes, Your Radiance, we are altering the celebration. The general nearly collapsed from shock. Your Radiance. The traditions. The schedule. 27 worlds have sent representatives. The temple preparations will wait, Zara said firmly. Her voice carried the authority of centuries of absolute rule. I wish to learn more about our human residents, beginning with this child and her mother. We will resume the formal ceremonies later. The shock rippled through the crowd as Empress Zara turned to Lori and Paige. Would you show me your district? I have never seen it except in reports. Lori stammered, uncertain how to respond to such an unprecedented request. Your Radiance, It's not prepared for Imperial inspection. The human district is still developing. We haven't had time to. It's perfect. Then, Zara interrupted, a chance to see something real, not something prepared for my viewing. The Empress turned to Krex. Adjust security accordingly. I will proceed to the human district. The procession transformed into chaos as Imperial guards scrambled to secure a new, unplanned route. Officials whispered urgently into communication devices, attempting to arrange impromptu security along the way to the human district. Dignitaries, who had waited months for their few moments in the Empress' presence, found themselves suddenly irrelevant as Zara focused entirely on Lori. And Paige seemed completely unfazed by the commotion she had caused. Do you want to see our shop? She asked the Empress. My mom has all kinds of cool machines there. I would very much like to see your shop, Zara replied with a smile that shocked her advisors further. None could remember the last time the Empress had shown genuine pleasure during a public event. The Imperial platform rose slightly from the ground, hovering at walking height. Lori and Paige were invited to walk alongside a breach of protocol so severe that several tradition-bound officials appeared on the verge of collapse. The procession slowly redirected toward the human district, with bewildered guards creating a path through the stunned crowd. News of the Empress' unexpected deviation spread rapidly through the capital. Humans in their district received urgent notifications that the Imperial procession was heading their way. Citizens rushed to clean streets and make themselves presentable, never having expected the Empress to visit their modest neighborhood. As they traveled, Paige chatted with the Empress, explaining human customs and asking questions about Imperial life with a directness that would have gotten any diplomat instantly dismissed from court. Surprisingly, Zara answered patiently, seeming to enjoy the child's curiosity. Have you always been in a floating chair? Paige asked after they had been walking for some time. Zara nodded. I was born with a condition that prevents me from walking. Our medical science can regrow limbs and cure most diseases, but some genetic conditions remain beyond our reach. Can't your scientists make you a better chair? Something more fun. My friend Kelly has a wheelchair, but hers has lights and makes cool noises when she moves. The Empress looked thoughtful. No one has suggested improvements to my mobility device in centuries. It serves its purpose, which has always seemed sufficient. But things can be sufficient and still be fun. Paige insisted. Lori cringed at her daughter's boldness. Your Radiance, please forgive her. She's very direct. No, please. Zara raised a hand. I find it refreshing. After centuries of carefully measured words, directness is a welcome change. She looked at Paige. What improvements would you suggest for my chair? Little engineer. Paige considered this seriously. It should go faster, and have colors, and maybe play music when you want it to. Her expression brightened. Or it could transform into different shapes for different places. Zara actually laughed, a sound so unexpected that General Krex nearly tripped in shock. I believe the Imperial engineers might learn something from you, Paige. As they entered the human district, the contrast with the Imperial Center became immediately apparent. Here there were no soaring crystal towers or perfectly maintained pathways. The buildings were practical, constructed from a mixture of Earth-derived designs and adapted alien materials. The streets bustled with activity as humans went about their daily work, occasionally mixing with alien traders and visitors. The residents lined the streets staring in wonder as their Empress moved among them. Many bowed awkwardly, unsure of proper protocol, while others simply gaped. Some children waved excitedly, and after a moment's hesitation, Zara waved back, causing another ripple of shock among her entourage. Lori guided them toward her repair shop located on a side street filled with similar small businesses. Human ingenuity was on full display here, with workshops producing hybrid technologies that combined Earth knowledge with alien materials, creating unique solutions to life on Nexus Prime. "This is our shop," Lori said nervously, as they approached a modest building with Tate Repairs written above the door. "It's not much, but we help keep the district running." Zara examined the structure with genuine interest. The Imperial Palace contained thousands of rooms, many of which she rarely visited. This small building filled with purpose seemed somehow more real than her vast empty chambers. Lori stared at the Empress in disbelief. Had the most powerful being in the known galaxy just asked about cake? The entire Imperial entourage seemed equally shocked. General Krex was making a high-pitched whistling sound through his mandibles, a sign of extreme distress in his species. Paige, however, answered without hesitation, "Chocolate cake. It's the best kind. We have some at home. Mom made it yesterday." She didn't even notice the commotion around her. Zara turned to her flustered general. "Krex, how long until the temple ceremony is scheduled to begin?" The general consulted his data display. 3 hours, Your Radiance." "But the dignitaries are already gathered. The ritual preparations can be delayed." Zara finished. "I wish to experience this. Birthday cake." She turned back to Lori. "Is your home far from here?" "No. Your Radiance just 2 blocks away," Lori answered, still struggling to process what was happening. "But it's very small and simple. Not at all suitable for Imperial." "Perfect," Zara said. "The less suitable for Imperial presence, the more interested I am in seeing it." The security detail scrambled to adjust their perimeter as the Empress made yet another unexpected change to the procession. Several officials were now openly consulting, with superiors via communication devices, their faces showing increasing alarm. The Empress' birthday celebration had followed the same pattern for centuries. The diplomatic implications of these deviations would be significant. Lori and Paige led the way to their modest apartment located above another repair shop. The building was a typical human district structure, utilitarian but comfortable. The security team rushed ahead, clearing residents and scanning every inch of the route. The Empress chair glided smoothly alongside Lori while Paige skipped ahead, excitement overcoming any sense of the historic nature of the moment. Their apartment was on the 3rd floor. The security team looked alarmed at the narrow stairway, but Zara simply adjusted her chair. The anti-gravity mechanism hummed softly as it navigated the tight space, demonstrating maneuverability that surprised even Lori. "This is our home," Paige announced proudly as they entered the small apartment. "It's not as big as your palace, but it's cozy." The space consisted of a main living area, with a kitchen section, a small bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. Simple furnishings made from a combination of Earth styles and local materials filled the rooms. Personal touches were everywhere. Childish drawings hung on walls alongside technical diagrams. Photos showed Lori and Paige in various locations around the human district. Zara moved through the space, observing everything with interest. This was completely outside her experience. The Imperial Palace contained thousands of rooms maintained by hundreds of servants. Each space was formal, perfectly arranged, and ultimately impersonal. This small apartment felt alive with the personality of its occupants. The kitchen had a similar feeling of organized chaos to Lori's workshop. Cooking implements hung from hooks and filled drawers. Paige immediately went to a cooling unit and carefully removed a chocolate cake, decorated simply with what appeared to be colored sugar crystals. Lori moved quickly around the kitchen, trying to create some semblance of formal service, but finding herself woefully unprepared to host the Empress of 27 worlds. She managed to locate her best plates, which were still modest by any standard, and began cutting the cake. "Your Radiance." "I apologize for the informal setting," Lori said. "We don't usually entertain Imperial visitors." She attempted a smile, though her hands trembled slightly. Zara waved away the apology. "In 300 years of Rule. I have never been in a private home. She looked around appreciatively. This is a unique experience for me. Do all human dwellings look like this? Lori relaxed slightly. Some are bigger, some smaller, but generally similar. We value personal space. We like to surround ourselves with things that matter to us. I notice many images of you and your daughter. Zara observed, looking at the photos. Are these family records? Memories, Lori explained. Moments we want to remember. Paige's first day of school. Our trip to the botanical gardens when they opened the earth plants section. Her birthday last year. The Empress moved closer to examine one particular image. It showed Lori and Paige laughing together, their faces covered in some kind of colorful powder. What is happening here? That's from the Color Festival. Lori said, smiling at the memory. Some of the human families organized it based on celebrations from Earth. We throw colored powder and everyone gets messy. It's about joy and new beginnings. Zara studied the image thoughtfully. I have no such records of my life. No casual moments preserved. Only official portraits and ceremonial documentation. She seemed to be speaking more to herself than to Lori. Her voice carried a note of realization. Paige had finished arranging cake slices on plates. She carried one carefully to the Empress. Here you go. Happy birthday. The security team moved forward, alarmed at the prospect of the Empress consuming unchecked food. But Zara, once again, waved them back. She accepted the plate, looking at the chocolate cake with curiosity. How is this consumed with a fork? Paige demonstrated, picking up her own piece. And you make a wish first because it's a birthday. Zara looked puzzled. A wish? You think of something you really want but don't tell anyone or it won't come true, Paige explained with the seriousness of sharing important cultural knowledge. Then you eat the cake and maybe your wish will happen. Lori watched as the Empress of the known galaxy closed her eyes, presumably to make a wish as instructed by a 7-year-old human child. The moment was so surreal she wondered if she might be dreaming. Zara opened her eyes and carefully took a bite of the cake. Her expression changed to one of surprise and then delight. This is extraordinary, the flavors, the texture. I've never experienced anything like it. It's just chocolate cake, Lori said. But Paige is right. It's the traditional birthday food on Earth. The Empress took another bite, seemingly fascinated by the simple dessert. Our ceremonial foods are designed for nutritional balance and symbolic meaning. Taste is considered irrelevant. She looked at the cake with new appreciation. This was made for enjoyment alone. Paige nodded, enthusiastically eating her own piece. That's what birthdays are for, enjoying things as they ate. General Krex hovered anxiously nearby, constantly checking the time and security reports. The other officials remained in the stairwell or outside the building, their rigid training, leaving them unprepared for such an informal setting. Zara seemed to relax more with each passing minute. The formal manner she had displayed during the procession gradually giving way to genuine curiosity. She asked questions about human customs, daily routines, and how Lori and Paige had adapted to life on Nexus Prime. Her interest appeared sincere, not diplomatic. Lori found herself speaking more freely as her initial terror subsided. She explained how humans had formed their own community within the larger Imperial society, helping each other adapt while learning from their alien neighbors. We try to preserve some of our Earth traditions while embracing new ones. Lori explained, humans are adaptable. We learn quickly, I have noticed. This about your species, Zara said. It is most impressive how you create solutions with limited resources. The Imperial reports mention this trait, but seeing it firsthand is different. She gestured around the apartment. This home is not merely functional, it contains beauty, purpose, and memory. Something my palace, for all its grandeur, lacks. Lori was surprised by the personal nature of the comment. Your Radiance, surely the Imperial Palace contains the greatest treasures of 27 worlds. Yes, Zara agreed. But treasures selected and arranged by others, objects of state, not objects of meaning. She looked at a small clay sculpture clearly made by a child's hands that sat prominently on a shelf. No one would dare present me with something so imperfect yet so genuine. That was my Mother Day gift, Paige said proudly. It's supposed to be a flower, but it came out weird. Mom keeps it anyway because it was made with love. Lori explained, which makes it more valuable than any perfect thing. Zara considered this. The concept seemed new to her. After finishing her cake, she moved her chair toward the window, looking out at the human district below. From this height, she could see the varied architecture, the streets filled with activity, the evidence of a community building itself from scratch. This view is quite different from my palace windows, she observed. From there, I see the perfect order of the imperial center. From here, I see life unfolding. The afternoon light streamed through the window, illuminating the Empress' face without the ceremonial headdress which she had removed while eating cake. Zara looked different. Younger somehow despite her ancient eyes. Her features were delicate, with the characteristic high cheekbones and slightly elongated skull of her species. Her skin had a subtle iridescent quality, shifting slightly with the changing light. Lori realized with a start that she was seeing something few ever witnessed. The Empress as a person, not just a symbol, your radiance. Krex interrupted reluctantly. We must begin preparations for your return. The temple ceremony cannot be delayed indefinitely. Zara sighed, the sound surprisingly human. The general is correct. I have duties that cannot be ignored. She turned to Lori and Paige. This visit has been illuminating. Thank you for your hospitality. Lori bowed slightly. It has been our honor, your radiance. The door slid open silently, revealing a spacious chamber unlike what Lori had expected of an imperial audience room. Instead of a formal throne surrounded by court officials, this space resembled a comfortable living area with views overlooking. The palace garden's large windows allowed natural light to fill the room, creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere. Empress Zara sat in her anti-gravity chair near one of the windows. Her formal regalia was absent, replaced by simpler, though still elegant, attire. Without the ceremonial headdress and robe, she appeared more approachable, almost ordinary despite the subtle glow of her skin and the ancient wisdom in her eyes. Welcome, Lori and Paige Tate, she greeted them. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Your radiance. Lori began with a formal bow, but the Empress gestured for her to stop. Please, when we are in these private chambers, I would prefer you call me Zara, she said. The constant formality becomes tiresome after centuries. She smiled at Paige, who was staring around the room in undisguised wonder. Do you like my personal chambers? Paige, it's really pretty. Paige replied, but then added with characteristic honesty, it doesn't look very lived. And Zara laughed, genuinely amused by the child's perception. You are quite right. This space, like most of the palace, exists for function rather than comfort. I have been considering changes since our meeting. Her gaze returned to Lori. I have many questions about how humans create homes that feel like I believe you called it cozy. Lori relaxed slightly, encouraged by the Empress' informal manner. Your homes reflect who we are, what matters to us exactly. Zara agreed. And that is something my existence has lacked for too long. She gestured toward a seating area. Please make yourselves comfortable. I have arranged refreshments. The seating area contained furniture clearly designed for various species, including human-compatible chairs. A table held an assortment of foods and drinks, both familiar Earth. Varieties and exotic alien offerings. Lori and Paige sat down, still somewhat uncomfortable, with the casual treatment from the ruler of 27 worlds. Paige, however, adapted, quickly reaching for what appeared to be some kind of blue pastry. Is this from Earth too? She asked, taking a bite. Zara smiled. No, that is a delicacy from Zelnar, the ocean world. I thought you might enjoy trying foods from other planets. The blue color comes from algae that grows in the deep trenches. Yum, Paige declared. After tasting it, it's like sweet and salty at the same time. Lori accepted a cup of what smelled remarkably like coffee. Though the color was slightly different, I understood our purpose was to consult on your mobility device. Your Razara, she corrected. Herself. Yes, but I see no reason why such consultation cannot be pleasant, Zara replied. She moved her chair closer. The current device was designed by engineers focused entirely on function, security, and status. She indicated the ornate elements that seemed more decorative than practical. The anti-gravity mechanism is excellent but limited. Lori examined the chair with professional interest. I noticed it handles stairs quite well, but the movement seems very formal. Precisely, Zara agreed. It moves, with imperial dignity as my engineers described it, but such movement becomes restrictive. I cannot move quickly or casually. It would be considered unseemly. The chair itself reinforces my separation from ordinary life. Lori nodded, beginning to understand. This isn't just about improving the technology, as it? Zara's eyes showed appreciation for Lori's perception. No, it is not. She was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. For 3 centuries, I have been the Empress. Before that, I was the heir raised from birth to rule. Never simply a person. My condition, she gestured toward her atrophied legs, contributed to this separation. From my earliest memories, I was transported on increasingly elaborate devices, each designed to elevate me above others, literally and figuratively. I can't imagine growing up like that. Lori said. Zara looked out the window, watching birds fly freely through the garden. I have begun to question many things since our meeting. The walls that separate me from my subjects. The traditions that once seemed essential but now feel hollow. She turned back to Lori. Your daughter showed me more genuine care in her simple birthday wish than I have received from my entire court in decades. Mom says everyone needs someone who sees them not just what they can do, Paige commented between bites of alien pastry. She was exploring the refreshments with enthusiasm, trying small portions of everything. Zara looked at Lori with raised eyebrows. Your daughter is quite wise. She remembers everything I say, Lori replied with a fond smile. Sometimes more than I intended. The Empress seemed to consider this deeply. Then, returning to the matter at hand, she gestured toward her chair. What would you change about this device? If function were the only consideration, Lori stood and circled the chair, examining it from all angles. For one thing, the propulsion system could be more responsive, she said, slipping into her technical mindset. I notice a delay between your command and the execution. Probably designed to make movement seem more graceful, but it must be frustrating, incredibly so. Zara confirmed, and these decorative elements, Lori indicated the ornate paneling. They add unnecessary weight. The whole chair could be lighter, more maneuverable. She pointed to the seating area. The ergonomics could be improved for your specific body, rather than designed to create a particular appearance. You see it clearly, Zara said with approval. Would you be willing to design something entirely new? Something that serves me rather than the idea of an Empress? Lori blinked in surprise. That's well beyond my usual repairs. Zara. Imperial technology is far advanced compared to human engineering, yet you modified our atmospheric regulators when Imperial engineers said it couldn't be done, Zara reminded her. Perhaps what is needed is not advanced technology but fresh perspective. She gestured around the room. I have access to any resources, any materials, any technical specifications you might need. Consider it a challenge. A collaborative project, a collaboration, Lori repeated, between an Empress and a repair technician. Between 2 people with complementary skills, Zara corrected, and perhaps she added, with a glance at Paige, with input from someone who understands that function and joy can coexist. Paige had been listening while exploring the room. Her attention now focused on a display case containing what appeared to be miniature models of various Imperial vehicles, including several anti-gravity chairs from different eras. Are these all your chairs? She asked. Zara moved toward her. Yes. Each Emperor or Empress receives a new design. This case contains models of every official transportation device used by Imperial rulers throughout our history. Some are really fancy, Paige observed, and some look more comfy. Which one did you like? Best. Zara seemed surprised by the question. No one has ever asked my preference. She studied the collection. Actually, none of them. I was never consulted in their design. Each was presented as a finished product, a symbol of Imperial authority, rather than a personal mobility device. That's silly, Paige declared. You have to live in it all day. You should get to pick Lori. Cringed slightly at her daughter's blunt assessment, but Zara seemed more amused than offended. Indeed, she agreed, I should have had a choice. She turned to Lori. I would like you to create several designs, possibilities I might select from rather than having a single option imposed upon me. Lori nodded slowly, beginning to embrace the challenge. I could do that. But I'd need to understand more about your specific needs, your daily activities. Physical requirements. Excellent. Zara said. That is precisely the approach I hoped for. She touched a control panel and a large display activated on one wall. This will allow you to access technical specifications, research previous designs, and create prototypes virtually. The Imperial engineers use this system for all major projects. You will have full access. Lori moved toward the display, recognizing an advanced version of the modeling systems used in her own work. She began exploring the interface quickly, understanding its logic despite the unfamiliar symbols. As Lori familiarized herself with the system, Zara turned her attention to Paige. And what would you suggest for my new chair? Young designer. Paige thought seriously. It should go faster when you want it to, and be more comfortable. And maybe change colors depending on how you feel. Zara seemed delighted by these suggestions. All excellent ideas. Function, comfort, and expression. She turned to Lori, who was already absorbed in the technical display. Could such features be incorporated? Lori looked up from her work. Variable speed would be simple enough, she confirmed. Comfort is primarily a matter of proper ergonomic design. As for changing colors, she smiled at her daughter. That might actually be possible with the right materials, Lorraine. The next few hours, Lori lost herself in the technical challenge, working with technology far beyond what was available in her workshop. She explored possibilities, created preliminary designs, and began to understand the true capabilities of Imperial engineering. Zara remained nearby, offering insights into her daily routine, the limitations of her current chair, and her wishes for greater independence. Meanwhile, Paige explored the chamber with the Empress permission, discovering hidden compartments, automated systems, and personal items that offered glimpses into Zara's private life. The child asked questions no Imperial official would dare pose, and Zara answered with surprising candor. Do you live here all alone? Paige asked after discovering what appeared to be a meditation area. 3 months had passed since Lori and Paige had moved into the Imperial Palace. Their new living quarters were spacious yet comfortable, located in a wing that had been renovated specifically for human habitation. The rooms featured a blend of Imperial architecture and Earth-inspired design, creating a space that felt both grand and homely. Lori had insisted on bringing some of their personal belongings from their old apartment, refusing to leave behind the memories they had built. The transition had not been without challenges. The Imperial bureaucracy had initially resisted the appointment of a human to such a prestigious position. Court officials raised concerns about protocol, security, and tradition, but Zara had overruled all objections. With the authority of 3 centuries of rule, her decision was final. Lori Tate would serve as personal technology advisor to the Empress, a newly created position that gave her unprecedented access to Imperial resources. Today marked the culmination of their first major project. The new mobility chair was complete after weeks of design testing and refinement. Lori made final adjustments to the neural interface as Zara watched with anticipation. This will feel different from your previous chair, Lori explained. The response will be immediate. The chair will interpret your intentions rather than waiting for deliberate commands. It might seem overly sensitive at first. Zara nodded. I understand. The engineers warned me that such responsiveness would be undignified, that an empress must move with measured grace. Those engineers never had to wait for their chair to decide it was appropriate to turn left. Lori replied with a smile, earning a laugh from the Empress. Their relationship had evolved into something neither had expected. A friendship based on mutual respect that transcended their different positions. Paige burst into the workshop area, her school uniform slightly rumpled. She had been enrolled in the Imperial Education Center, the first human child ever admitted. The experience had been educational for everyone involved, with alien children and instructors alike. adjusting to human learning styles and Paige's particular brand of curiosity. Is it ready, she asked excitedly. Just finished the final calibration. Lori confirmed. Paige rushed to Zara's side. The Empress smiled warmly at the child. The formal imperial mask she wore in public had no place in these private sessions. Paige had become something of a surrogate niece to her, bringing youthful energy to the ancient ruler. Shall we begin the transfer? Zara asked. Whenever you're ready. Lori positioned the new chair alongside the imperial throne that had served as Zara's mobility device for decades. The contrast between the two was striking. Where the throne was ornate, rigid, and imposing, the new chair was sleek, adaptive, and built for function without sacrificing elegance. Its surface featured programmable material that could change color and pattern depending on Zara's preference. Lori activated the transfer sequence. A gentle anti-gravity field extended from the new chair, enveloping Zara and lifting her from the throne. The transition was smooth and dignified, requiring no uncomfortable physical handling, an important consideration for maintaining imperial dignity. As Zara settled into the new chair, sensors adjusted to her body, providing optimal support. The neural interface activated, signaled by a soft blue glow around the control panel. How does it feel? Lori asked. Zara closed her eyes for a moment. Remarkable, she said. The support is perfect. I feel as though the chair is an extension of myself rather than a device. I must command. Try moving. Paige suggested, bouncing with excitement. The Empress focused, and the chair responded immediately, gliding forward with a smoothness that made her previous throne seem clumsy by comparison. Zara laughed with delight. The responsiveness. Exactly as I think. Lori watched with professional satisfaction as Zara navigated around the workshop. The chair moved like a dancer. Quick turns, smooth acceleration, perfect stops, all responding to the Empress thoughts rather than deliberate controls. Now try the transformation function, Paige urged. Zara activated the chair's second major innovation. The exterior panels shifted configuration, the formal imperial design morphing into a more streamlined, casual appearance. The height adjusted, lowering slightly to a less imposing position. The overall effect was dramatic. The intimidating imperial throne had become an elegant personal vehicle. This is extraordinary, Zara said, maneuvering through a complex series of movements, testing the chair's capabilities. The formal mode will satisfy tradition, while this, she gestured to the transformed state. This gives me freedom I've never known. The chair's capabilities extended far beyond aesthetics and mobility. The new design included enhanced communication systems, environmental controls, and safety features, all integrated seamlessly. Lori had incorporated technology from multiple worlds, creating something unique in the Empire. What do you think of the color options? Lori asked. Zara activated the programmable surface. The chair shifted through various hues and patterns, settling on a deep blue with subtle iridescent highlights reminiscent of Zara's natural skin tone. Perfect, she declared. It feels like me. Not just the Empress. Their moment of celebration was interrupted by a communication alert. General Krex appeared on the display, his mandibles twitching with urgency. Your Radiance, the diplomatic situation with the Vorn Collective has escalated. Their representatives demand an immediate audience. Zara sighed. The Vorn were a recently discovered species whose territory bordered the Empire. Their aggressive expansion had created tension, and the possibility of conflict loomed. I will meet them in the formal audience chamber, she told Krex. Tell them I require 1 hour. After the general disconnected, Zara turned to Lori. The true test begins now. The Imperial Court will witness my new chair. She smiled with a hint of mischief. I suspect there will be considerable reaction. Lori nodded. The court officials had been skeptical of the project. Many believed it inappropriate for the Empress to embrace human technology so openly. Some feared any change to imperial traditions. Powerful factions within the government viewed the growing human influence with suspicion. Will you attend the audience? Zara asked. I would value your presence both as the creator of this remarkable device and as she hesitated, a friend. The word still felt strange between them. The concept of friendship with the Empress had been unthinkable months ago, Yet their collaboration had created a bond that defied traditional hierarchies. I would be honored. Lori replied, "Can I come too?" Paige asked. Zara considered this. The Vorn are unpredictable. This meeting may become tense. But she added, seeing Paige's disappointment, "Perhaps. You could observe from the secure viewing area. Imperial heirs traditionally watch diplomatic proceedings from there to learn governance." Paige's eyes widened at being granted access to such a restricted space. "Thank you," she said, with unexpected formality, mimicking the court behavior she had observed. An hour later, the Imperial Court had assembled in the Grand Audience Chamber. The space was designed to intimidate with soaring ceilings, ancient artifacts, and displays of imperial power. Officials from all 27 worlds stood in their designated positions, the hierarchy of the Empire visible in their arrangement. Some whispered among themselves, curious about the delayed appearance of the Empress. The Vorn delegation waited at the center of the chamber. Their appearance was unsettling to most species. Their exoskeletons resembled polished obsidian with multiple jointed limbs that moved with unsettling precision. Their communication occurred through color patterns that rippled across their carapaces, requiring translator devices for other species to understand them. General Krex stood at attention beside the empty Imperial dais. The Empress traditionally entered last. Her arrival announced with formal ceremony. Lori took her position, near the side entrance, wearing the official robes of her new position. The garment combined Imperial styling with subtle human elements, a physical representation of the cultural exchange occurring within the palace. From her vantage point, she could see Paige in the viewing area above the chamber. The child sat beside an Imperial tutor, watching the proceedings with fascination. The announcement chime sounded, silencing all conversation. The great doors opened and Empress Zara entered. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The Empress approached on her new chair, moving with graceful precision. The chair was in its formal configuration, maintaining the dignity expected of Imperial technology, but its design was revolutionary. Sleeker, more elegant, and clearly influenced by human aesthetics, Zara guided the chair to the central dais, where it elevated slightly, giving her the traditional position of authority. The programmable surface displayed the Imperial colors, but with subtle variations that complemented Zara's natural appearance. The overall effect was both familiar and new, traditional yet innovative. The court officials exchanged glances, some disapproving, others intrigued. The Vorn representatives rippled with color, patterns too rapid for the translators to interpret, suggesting intense communication among themselves. "Your Radiance," General Krex announced. "The representatives of the Vorn Collective request audience regarding border territories." Zara acknowledged this with a regal nod. "We welcome the representatives of the Vorn to Nexus Prime." Her voice carried the weight of centuries of authority, but those who knew her well might detect a new quality in her tone. Confidence not just from position, but from personal comfort.